Hey, it's SoMo, and you know I got soul.
You know, your debut album set to come out soon. Take me through the process of putting that album together.
Well, basically, I wanted to write an album that on all facets of love, and my journey is to finding love and lusting instead of loving. But yeah, so it kind of is not necessarily conceptual, but it does kind of take you on a story, like on a ride through, my life and journey for love.
Yep. And talk about the sound that you developed, because, I listened to the album and it has a nice mix of R&B as well as pop, and we haven't really heard those two mesh together in a long time. So talk about how you kind of developed that sound.
I really just kind of wrote what felt good melodically and to sing, and I've always, been an R&B buff and really liked Musiq Soulchild growing up, so it's kind of just an influence on, those genres vocally infused with just all the influences that I've kind of grew up listening to, whether it was country or rock or R&B, and then I just kind of wrote an album.
Oh, cool. And of course you noted that Musiq Soulchild's one of your biggest influences, so what kind of drew you to his music?
It's really just the vocals and the complexity of some of the runs that he's done in different songs, and just the way that made me feel when I sang them. I just really liked the way his voice was laid over the music. So I don't know. It's one of those situations where the music just sounds right to you, to your ear.
Yeah.
So that's just what I really identify with.
Okay, cool. And what would you say are your top 3 Musiq Soulchild songs?
I would have to say there's so many, but Love, then Don't Change, and probably, I don't know, let me think. Religious, I like that one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So on this album, you kind of stuck to working with your own producers rather than going out with the big names. So how important was it for you on this album to maintain your sound?
It was very important. I actually wrote the album with Cody Tarpley and Mick Schultz before I signed with a major label. So the way I wrote it, is independent-minded, and I wrote it that way. So when I was going to sign with the label, I told them it had to come out the way I intended it to, and it did. Or it is.
Yep.
Super excited about that. Just because it really is, it's from a real place. I know a lot of people like, to hear about independent artists making their own way and stuff. So for me, it's still an independent album. I just have the platform of major label.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's just really good.
Yep. So, has it kind of been a struggle for you to kind of convince listeners that you're not just a pop artist, that you do R&B as well? Because I think from an image standpoint, you sort of come across as a pop artist.
No, I whatever people want to perceive me as, I just am who I am.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really tried to push the R&B thing. I just like R&B, so I sing R&B, and I think my fans and even listeners who are listening can just tell I enjoy singing it. So
yeah,
that's my main thing, is just to be me, and if people want to listen to me, they'll listen.
Yep. And what kind of reception have you received from the traditional R&B fans? Because people call them the hardest fans to please. So what kind of reception are you getting from them?
I think I'm getting some good compliments here and there. A lot of people, it's cool for me when R&B heads say that I have the 90s R&B sound. And I'm kind of like, not all the way, but, there's elements in there and they can hear it, and that makes me feel good because, I grew up on that. So.
Yeah. Cool. And, you mentioned earlier that your album, you sort of kind of did that independently, but now you have a major label backing. Can you talk about why you decided to go with a major label? Because I think a lot of artists now, they start out independent and they just continue to push that route.
Well, for me, it's just about getting the music to be heard, and I felt like I kind of tapped out my resources in terms of just reaching a larger market, and that was really the only reason. I felt like once I had written this album that this was the sounds that could possibly go mainstream. So I felt like what better way than to sign to a major label.
Yeah.
But really, like, kind of reach all the dimensions of the industry, I guess.
Yeah. And you've been one of the many people who have used YouTube as a huge tool to build up your fan base, and it continues to grow now. So what's the key to that?
I mean, I guess the key is just consistency. I've done a video every Sunday, and I think maybe only like 4 or 5 of them weren't at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So I really kind of developed it's like a TV show for my fans every week,
Yeah.
What's SoMo going to do this week? And I always make it a surprise because it just makes it more fun.
Right. And, on YouTube, you're posting covers, you're remixing songs. Has it been kind of a challenge for you to turn fans who may just love your covers into fans who support your own material?
It doesn't seem like it's been that hard. Just because I have done so many covers,
yeah,
they really still, I noticed that, the majority of my fans are about, Ride and Show Off my original song. So, I don't know. It's not really ever been an issue, I guess.
Okay. And, of course, you went on tour even before you put out the album. So what was the idea behind that? Because I know a lot of artists, they go on tour after the album.
Well, that was me. I had initially planned to put out the album right before the fall tour.
Yeah.
And so it was based on that. And I ended up, getting really heavy into talking to the different labels that I decided to hold off. And it's really cool because I got to sing the songs that are on the album at shows and kind of preview them for the fans. And there's so many people on Twitter talking to me saying, oh, I can't wait to hear Red Lighter, which is a song on the album. I loved it at the show, and now they're getting to hear it, and it's just really cool.
Yeah. And I read, that back in high school you didn't really take music seriously, I guess, as a profession, but now that, you're about to put out your album, can you just take me through your journey as far as, like, when you decided that you wanted to do music as an actual career and what that journey's been like?
Yeah, it's been weird because I grew up, around music when I was young with my father. He was a musician in Austin, Texas. And I just never really planned on doing music like he did. I just saw my life going differently and basically just didn't really avoid it, but I just didn't really pursue it until, what was that?
I think someone entered.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so eventually, though, it was my brother who told my mom that she should get me a piano for Christmas because I had been saying I kind of wanted to just play around with it. And so I did that, and I ended up figuring it out by ear and posted some videos to YouTube. People reacted, and so I started doing it even more for fun, and people kept reacting, and I don't know. I always say the rest is history. So.
Yep. And from YouTube up until getting signed to it, like, how did the major label opportunity come about?
I guess they had just heard Ride and Show Off and the mixtape, and my A&R had come pretty early on from Republic, and they were just persistent. They said that they could help me take my music to the next level, and this was probably 8 months before I even signed, because I was kind of like against the idea before I knew I could get granted, creative control and mutual approval and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of hesitant, but eventually I was like, All right, all ready.
Cool. So, you know, album's coming out soon. What else is coming up for you?
I'm just doing a bunch of shows, and I'm planning on doing maybe some small summer tours here and there, but I really am planning a big fall tour, so I will be looking out for that.
Okay, cool. And that's all that I have for you. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, man, let's stress more love.